Welcome, it's been a minute. You can see we've got some new hair, a new setup. I wanted to make a video today based on some recent news from Nikon around the Z8 and the fact that I think it is the first true successor to the D850. And I want to talk a little bit about why I don't plan to part with my D850, but I do plan to get a Z8. I view cameras as instruments. And yes, they evolve and they get better, but ultimately it's somewhat of an experience. It is a tool, sort of like a guitar. You don't sell one guitar to get another guitar. You absolutely might, but it's more about the experience of using it to create artwork. That is the exact reason that I plan to keep my D850. And a quick hot take on the D850. Moving away from this camera to a mirrorless camera is not moving from one camera to another. It's moving from SLRs to a mirrorless. And for those of you that know what that means, there's some significant implications to that. There is a very satisfactory click that is going away when you move to a mirrorless camera. The satisfactory click of the shutter is not the only thing that's different between SLRs and mirrorless, it's also the viewfinder. So moving from an optical viewfinder where I'm truly looking through the lens of the camera to an electronic viewfinder is also a pretty big difference. Viewfinder technology, or EVF technology, has come far enough that it's actually pretty much identical now between an optical viewfinder and an electronic viewfinder. Now, the Z8 technologically is absolutely a superior camera. When the Z7 and the Z7 II came out, there were compromises with those cameras when compared to the D850. And when you're spending upwards of $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on a camera system, you don't want compromises. The D850 was rock solid. It still is rock solid. The Z7, I'm sorry to say, was a sad excuse of a replacement for the D850. Nikon has finally delivered a true successor to the D850. As you know by now, the Z8 is essentially a Z9 in a smaller form factor, the biggest difference being the memory card slots and the battery. I bought the battery grip for my D850 and frankly, I don't use it very much. The D850 had an added benefit in that it got additional 2 to 3 frames per second, I think, burst when you use the additional grip in the battery, but I don't use it very often. And when it comes to the Z8 versus the Z9, you can buy an additional Nikon battery for $70. You can buy multiple batteries for $70 before you even start to come close to the $1,500 premium of the Z8 and the Z9. That is a big reason I think the Z8 actually presents a very good value proposition. As mentioned, the card slots. So I actually enjoy having the combination of XQD and SD on my D850 because I usually import and plug in my SD card to my MacBook and take a look at the photos that I actually want to end up keeping before I import the raw images, which are much larger and take up a lot more hard drive space. And to be very honest, I've actually had more issues with XQD than I have with SD, so having SD as a backup is actually a better proposition to me personally. What's more important is the stacked sensor that Nikon has carried over directly from the Z9. I should make a whole video on the differences between a stacked sensor versus a regular CMOS sensor, and the fact that Nikon has just moved this into their prosumer camera is phenomenal. So while this video was brief, it was the first topic that made me compelled to pull up my camera, pull up my microphone, and upload a new video to YouTube. I think the Z8 and the Z9 are both a fantastic statement from Nikon that they are here to stay, they are here to deliver, they're here to compete, and I'm very excited to see what they have in terms of updates in the future. Until next time, hit that subscribe button, click that like button, and we'll see you later.